there every pony, Ultramag64 here. Sorry about the lack of content guys, unfortunately I got hit with a major cold and due to the Thanksgiving holiday I just decided to take the week off. However, that doesn't stop the pony train from a-rollin'. This week we got a new episode called Castlemania. This episode came off a little bit with a Scooby-Doo vibe to it, and it was basically MLP fluff with nothing of significance happening. So the setting for this episode is the two pony sisters' castle. What that means is we finally get to see more in depth what the castle's like, especially the interior of it. Now, the design of it seems more of a funhouse sort of design. I feel like this was more of a playhouse for the sisters. Roll with me on this. Celestia and Luna have been ruling Equestria for an unknown amount of time. However, they may not be the only rulers. We may have had their parents ruling over Equestria before them, which would mean that growing up they needed a place to stay. I feel like the sisters' castle was their house. The parents would stay in one castle and the girls would stay in another. Now, this may be, questionable parenting. However, it does appear that way. Now, granted, Celestia seems like she built the castle herself, or at least had the idea of building the castle in blueprint form in her mind, at least due to her diary entries. However, that's just my opinion. So another major thing that happens in this episode is we finally get to see how lessons are going to be learned in this season. By keeping a shared diary, the main six are going to no longer need to write letters to Celestia. Now, I'm going to miss the Dear Princess Celestia line a lot. However, I feel like this is a lot better because it brings more of a personal feel to the lessons. And I really like the idea of the main six keeping a shared diary. So this episode, while coming off with a Scooby-Doo vibe, did have some dark turns here and there. For instance, the wall of disembodied hooves. Now granted, they weren't real hooves, but still, the way they described it was a little scary. Another thing I must mention is that Fluttershy must have felt pretty bad when she thought Angel got crushed by castle rubble. So that's pretty morbid in my opinion. The last thing I want to mention is the Pony of Shadows, this episode's quote-unquote villain. Now, this is an interesting little bit here, because it not only shows that another ponytail is true, but it also makes me think that we may be getting a new villain. This may be the season-long villain. Now, the only reason I say this is because it is a part of Nightmare Moon that was not destroyed when she was transformed back into Luna. So this makes me think that this may be our season-long villain rather than a one-episode villain. Now, hopefully this is the case because I really want to see more developed villains, unlike Sombra, who was only there for one episode, barely said any lines, and really had no character development. He just felt rather flat and not my favorite villain. But anyway guys, that's gonna about do it for this episode. I know it's a little short, however, there wasn't really much to talk about or discuss in this episode that I found was very interesting. So anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed, I hope you have a fantastic day. Remember, don't feed the terror sprites, and as always, happy gaming!